What's going on, Dolphins fans? It's Connor from the Dolphins Dive, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the upcoming matchup of the Miami Dolphins facing the Washington Commanders, also known as the Commies, this Sunday. It's an away game, just to be noted, but I'm going to start with the Dolphins offense versus the Commies defense, starting with points per game. Dolphins are second in points per game, finally overtaken by the Dallas Cowboys, and the Commies are 32nd in points allowed, so Dolphins hopefully have an offensive field day, but obviously the game still needs to be played. Dolphins are first in passing yards per game. The Commies are 30th in passing yards allowed. Dolphins are second in rushing yards per game, and the Commies are 17th in rushing yards allowed. So better rushing defense than passing defense from the Commanders. Some offensive notes, a lot of injuries along the offensive line. Kendall Lamb, Tron Armstead, Robert Hunt, Robert Jones. Should be interesting who plays, who doesn't play, and see what kind of group we have. I'm expecting Robert Hunt to be back and Tron Armstead. So I'm going to guess the offensive line will look something like Armstead, Cotton, Williams, Hunt, Jackson, which is probably the best offensive line we've had in a minute, which is good. So hopefully we can see some more continuity there and they stay healthy, knock on wood. Offensive keys of the game. First, in my opinion, build off of the run game last week. Obviously, like I mentioned in the statistics part of the video, the Commanders are the 17th rushing defense in the league, which is better than being the 30th passing defense. So on paper, you'd be like, all right, just pass the ball over them because we probably have the ability to. But I think in the long term, being able to just build off of last week's rushing attack into this last half of the season, into the playoffs, will benefit us much more than just passing the ball over the yard, because as Mike McDaniel mentioned in his post-game speech, and as you hear many people say, a run game and defense wins championships because it travels, it can play in any weather, cold, wind, doesn't matter. Those things will be able to travel, whereas a passing attack, conditions need to be in your favor because if it's windy, if it's cold, if it's raining, it can impact your ability to do that at a high level. So that's why I mentioned just build off of the run game that you reestablished last week, because early in the season we were able to run the ball all over teams and kind of got negated over the middle of the season, and we picked it up last week. I want to build off of that. And then the number two, continue balanced attack with Waddle involved. A lot of fans, myself included, were kind of critiquing, like, listen, Tyreek's the best player in all football, probably. Get him his touches. He needs them. But this team becomes way more lethal when you have Waddle more consistently involved, and that happened last week, and I'd love to see that continued into this week and the rest of the season, because once you get both of them going, this offense is a wagon and extremely hard to stop. And one last note I forgot to mention, Devon Achane is going to be back. Should be interesting to see how they're utilized. Last week, Mostert and Wilson both had great games. We know what Achane provides, so I'm expecting kind of like a split backfield situation with all three of those guys. I love Jeff Wilson's physicality. Raheem Mostert runs pretty tough for his size. Achane is, we all know, I don't want to put him at further risk, so if it means just getting him a couple touches, by all means. Players to watch for the Commanders defense, I really only have two names written down here, Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. In the middle, obviously both stud defensive linemen, but this defense is pretty bad. But should be interesting to see how they respond. They just fired their defensive coordinator in Jack Del Rio. Ron Rivera's taken over play calling. Is it going to change at all? I'm not sure. It might just stay bad, but could be similar to when you see a coach get fired. Maybe their defense responds well. Who knows? So overall, I think the Dolphins' offense is going to dominate the Commanders. Hopefully they don't have that surge from firing their DC, but you never know. But I expect the Dolphins to put up a lot of points and yards. On to the Dolphins' defense versus the Commanders' offense. Led by Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy, the Commanders are 20th in points per game. Dolphins' defense is 22nd in points allowed. Now, to be fair, I think these stats might be slightly skewed because I feel like the Dolphins' defense has been much better. I don't think they take into account like offensive, so the pick six last week, I don't know if it's taken into account because the Dolphins seem way too high considering how good they've been of late. So I feel like if you take away the Tyreek Hill fumble for 6 against the Chiefs and the pick 6 from Tua, this number would be slightly better, but those are the numbers. The Commanders are 9th in passing yards per game. Dolphins are 11th in passing yards allowed. So Dolphins, one of the best passing defenses. Commanders are 25th in rushing yards per game, and the Dolphins are 6th in rushing yards allowed. And what an improvement the Dolphins have made in their run defense from week 1 getting the ball shoved down our throats in the run game to all the way up to 6th in the league. And considering how the Dolphins defense plays run defense with, if you guys don't know, Vic Fangio likes to have 2 safeties back deep with his coverages, which means you have 1 less defender in the box to help stop the run, yet we're still 6th in rushing yards allowed, which is tremendous in my opinion. So big ups to the defensive line. Christian Wilkins, all of those guys, Sealer, Chubb, Phillips, hopefully may he get healthy. Some notes for the defense, a lot of banged up players. Javon Holland's probably going to miss the game based off how Mike McDaniel has talked about him. If it was like a must-win game, I'd expect him to play, but considering it's a situation where obviously even if he doesn't play, we should still win. Obviously every game, any given Sunday, we can lose, but I don't think they want to rush him back. He's got a double knee injury. He's missed the past 2 practices, and with how the Dolphins handle injuries, they tend to be very conservative, so I expect that to stay the same. So lots of banged up players, but defensive keys, number 1, just continue stacking. The last 3 defensive games have been incredible. I think we haven't let up more than 1 touchdown, if I'm not being wrong. The Chiefs game, they've only let up 1 touchdown, if I'm not wrong. Or maybe I am wrong. They maybe let up 2 touchdowns and then the fumble, scoop and score. The Raiders game, I think they let up 1 touchdown and then they let up the 2 field goal. I don't know, but they've just been dominant the past couple of weeks. They've continued to get better week in, week out in the trenches, in the back end. It's just been a perfect storm of growth and then getting players healthy, albeit Jalen Phillips going down. So just continue stacking off these past weeks and continuing to show what we can do. And then number 2, the backup players need to step up. If it's Brandon Jones replacing Javon Holland, the big thing with that is Javon Holland, like besides the pick 6 last week, he wasn't making a lot of splash plays. And that's fine because what he does is he takes away the huge plays that would have happened if he wasn't taking them away. So continuing to prevent big plays like Javon Holland has done. Backup players need to step up. Obviously, Van Ginkel and Agba in the role of Jalen Phillips. And honestly, Agba's had good production despite not getting a lot of snaps. Hopefully, he continues that. Obviously, some of that is not directly correlated to his play. This defensive line loves to run something called stunts or games, which basically like they loop around, so it confuses the offensive line, and sometimes you have a free rush. So yeah, hopefully Agba continues that production. Obviously, I'm a big Andrew Van Ginkel fan. I'm trying to get a shirt cooked up for him. So we need the backups to step up if we want to go where we want to go. Players to watch for the Commanders' offense. Sam Howell's had a very good first season really playing, in my opinion. I saw a stat. He leads the league in big-time throws and big-time, like in bad throws, basically. So, or maybe he doesn't lead the league, but he's in the upper percentile in big-time throws and turnover-worthy plays. So be opportunistic as a defense. Is what that tells me. Scary Terry McLaurin, obviously one of the best receivers in all football, who's had to deal with a ton of adversity at the quarterback position. Hopefully he finally gets stability with Sam Howell and continues his very good career. I'm an Ohio State fan, so I'd like to see him flourish. Brian Robinson, obviously the Alabama running back who suffered a gunshot wound last year and has bounced back and has been a very good running back for them. And then last but not least, Curtis Samuel is a very explosive player who's had very success when healthy. So hopefully he continues, not against us, but continues a solid season for himself. Once again, an Ohio State guy. That's kind of why I said that. But the Dolphins are 8-3 on the season. I'm 8-3 on my predictions. I may or may not have picked them to win every game so far. I'm sorry, I'm a homer. And I'm 19-9, including last year on predictions. So I've been doing pretty well for myself. And I'm not changing having the Dolphins win. I have the Dolphins winning 38-20. Comment down your score predictions down below. Appreciate you guys for watching. And until next time, I'll catch y'all.